Marvel Rivals Season 2 just came out and released some amazing new skins. The super cool looking skins like Iron Fist's Eye of Agamotto skin, with this Iron Fist being actually Danny Rand, the Iron Fist we all know and love. To skins like the new Emma Frost skin, which people are currently going crazy over since of how revealing it is. And also giving X-Men characters some of their most iconic outfits. But even though all of these Marvel Rivals skins look so amazing and are continuing to release some new amazing Marvel Rivals skins, a lot of these Marvel Rivals skins actually have some insane lore to them as well. Some spanning literal decades of Marvel history, and to some being in some bizarre Marvel stories. And yes, even this Emma Frost skin is comic accurate, with it first being in a Marvel comic before it made its way into the game we all know and love. That goes for every new skin in Marvel Rivals this season, with all of these skins having some insane lore. So today, I want to break down the history of each one of these new skins that came to Marvel Rivals, and break down the hidden lore that even hardcore Marvel fans are not familiar with. Now I have to get comic scans from the literal 60s to explain some of these skins lore. So the least you can do is like and subscribe. It helps out the channel so much, and 99% of the people who watch me aren't subscribed, so hit that subscribe button, it's free. But let's get down to the breakdown of the history of every Marvel Rivals Season 2 skin. First off, I want to start with the two new skins that hit the shop when Season 2 dropped, and then cover the entire Battle Pass next, and then go into the Marvel Rivals skins that are releasing this week. So starting off with what most people have been buying this season, we have the Emma Frost new skin, the X Revolution skin, which is a suit Emma Frost wears in Uncanny X-Men 2013, and the reason why it's such a different look to what Emma Frost usually looks like, mainly the color scheme being so drastically different from her white and blue outfits, is due to the fact that this Emma Frost is actually in an X-Men team who's fighting a revolution for mutants. And most of the X-Men in this group are wearing darker clothing and are more taking drastic measures than what the usual X-Men usually do. With Cyclops actually leading this team, and this Cyclops even gets this cool, new, amazing whole red suit, which looks amazing. And if they ever added Cyclops to this game, he definitely needs this X-Men Revolution suit, because this suit is so clean and so amazing. But all the other mutants in this group, along with Cyclops, are all wearing darker clothing. But obviously they added some stuff to this Emma look, with the comic version being more simple, while Marvel Rivals added so much flair to this outfit. And they also changed the hair of Emma, with this Emma not having a middle part like she does in the comic. But besides the hair, I think that Marvel Rivals took this look and made it better than what the comic looked like. But I do kind of wish they kept the trench coat that she sometimes has when she's in a more casual setting and not on the battlefield. But obviously the suit is still amazing. But then we got Star-Lord's new skin, which is from the Guardians 2015 comic, where Star-Lord becomes a king of a planet and wears a suit to fit the part of his new status. And this version of Star-Lord is actually currently not with the Guardians, with this new Guardians team having a new Star-Lord, and the whole Guardians group is very different from what you might be familiar with characters like Venom and the Thing being in this Guardians team, with the Space Venom skin is actually a reference to this version of the Venom as well. So these two skins are kind of in the same comic universe. Then we get into all the Battle Pass skins, which we're starting from top to bottom with the new Spider-Man skin, which is kind of a completely new to this game, but will have an origin later in the future. And the reason why the skin will have an origin soon is because they are releasing a new Marvel Rivals comic made by Peach Momoko, one of the greatest Marvel artists working today, and is kind of a reference to her Demon Day story, which is a feudal Japan version of the Marvel Universe, which inspired the Psylocke version we have today, because Psylocke is actually the main character of the Demon Day story, and they use that version of Psylocke to inspire Marvel Rivals version of Psylocke. And even though the skin is brand new to this season, you actually can see the skin in the background of some of the Marvel Rivals maps since season 0, months before the skin even came out. But if you were already tapped into the leaks, you might have known about the skin a couple months ago. But then we have this OG Psylocke skin, which is actually a reference to the old X-Men outfits that they used to have in the 90s. But however, this main Psylocke you see here is Japanese, where the original Psylocke who wore this outfit in the old X-Men stories was actually worn by a whole different Psylocke, because these two characters are not the same person. It was actually worn by the Psylocke, the original Psylocke, named Betsy, because when Psylocke first started out, she was not Japanese like how people think of her nowadays. Both the Japanese version and Betsy, the original version, are kind of two different characters, but were linked at one point. It's some weird comic stuff, because at one point, the original Psylocke got trapped in an Asian woman's body, and she was stuck in that body for a while. Then over time, Marvel kind of made these two versions of Psylocke their own versions. It's just some weird comic stuff. All the old Marvel comics are kind of a Wild West. Some crazy shenanigans were happening back then. Then we have the Squirrel Girl punk rock skin, which does not really have any Marvel lore to it, because it's pretty original to this game. The only somewhat history this skin has is that it's supposed to be reference to the Spider-Punk skin, because in the description of the skin, it says that this version of Squirrel Girl probably exists in the same universe as Spider-Punk, or at least that's what the lore seems to be, because it says that this Squirrel Girl was inspired by Hobie Spider-Punk. Now next up, we have another original X-Men suit with Magic's retro outfit, which is obviously another reference to the classic X-Men outfits that they used to wear back in the day. They obviously added some extra stuff to the suit with adding stuff like this extra crown stuff on her head that makes her kind of look like All Might from My Hero Academia, and they also changed how her sword color looks like, with the old version of Psylocke's sword actually looking very slim and having more of a blue glow than what it looks like nowadays. But then we have the Black Widow Hellfire Club outfit, which on a side note, this outfit looks sick and is probably my favorite skin in this new battle pass, which sucks because I don't play Widow, but this skin is actually originally from the Hellfire Gala comic, where she helps out with the security at this event along with the rest of the Avengers, with her look in the comic actually being more of a sleek outfit, with it looking more like a jumpsuit and having the logo be way more out there and way more prominent than how it does look like in this Marvel Rivals skin, which I prefer the Marvel Rivals redesign for the skin, but the original one is also very good and is obviously going for a more realistic design. Then we have Luna Snow's new skin, which just like the new Spider-Man skin is made for Marvel Rivals new comic made by Peach Momoko and is also set in the Vito Japan times. Then we have Hulk's new costume called Joe Fixit, which this Marvel skin has so much history behind it, with it spanning since the 60s. Now most people might know this Hulk skin as more of the gangster version of Hulk named Joe Fixit, but this version of Hulk actually started in the 60s with Hulk's very first appearance ever in Hulk #1, with Hulk actually being gray instead of green when he first started out, because Stan Lee thought gray was so much a more cooler color and much more of an evil color for a monster look. But due to ink issues messing up with the printer when creating the original Hulk comic, Hulk never looked like the same color of gray, and Stan Lee said sometimes it would look like dark gray, sometimes it would look like light gray, or even sometimes Hulk would even look black when the first comic of Hulk first printed. So since the printer didn't really handle gray colors very well and it wanted Hulk to have a consistent color to him, he decided to change the color from gray to green, and obviously it stayed green, and green Hulk is what we know how Hulk looks like nowadays. But later they would give some explanation to why he was gray in the first place by saying Hulk experienced longer forms of gamma radiation over time, which turned his gray Hulk into green Hulk, and then they said that gray Hulk was actually another completely different persona in Bruce Banner's mind, separate from the Savage Hulk we know, and this Hulk would actually come out usually at night and was smarter than the green Hulk, and at one point became a mobster in the comic runs that we all know as the Joe Fixit persona. And then they would even give a backstory to why Joe Fixit is even a personality in Bruce's head by saying that when Bruce was very young, he used to watch mob movies as a child, and that fantasy created a separate persona in his mind known as Joe Fixit. So when he got exposed to gamma radiation and created this Hulk persona, the Joe Fixit personality came to life as well. Which, if you aren't too familiar with the Hulk, he has always had these multiple personalities that are eating up at him, kind of like Moon Knight, but in my opinion the Hulk stories tackle the Hulk persona way more interesting with these multiple personalities, because these Hulk personalities are actually so dangerous. But even though Joe Fixit history is so deep and has been around for so long, to the point where it's still going even to this day, and even though you might not see Joe Fixit in a lot of Marvel comic stories right now, the idea is that Joe Fixit personality is still in the back of Bruce's head, still waiting to come out. So Joe Fixit is never really gone. Now next up we have the new Captain America skin, his Hellfire Gala skin, which is from the Captain America's appearance at the Hellfire Gala Club in the comics. Captain America and the rest of the Avengers were all there at the Hellfire Gala Club, and I would say the suit is pretty one-to-one with the comic look, with them not having too much changes overall. Now next up we have Iron Fist's new skin, the Eye of Agamotto skin, which is a skin that looks super cool in the game, and this version of Iron Fist is the Danny Rand version that most people know as Iron Fist, because he's the main Iron Fist in most of the iconic stories he's in, while the Lin Lee version, the main Marvel Rivals version, is more of a newer version of Iron Fist. But this new Iron Fist skin, you probably realize if you're only familiar with the original green look that Iron Fist has, is very different from what he usually looks like in the comic, with these colors being gold and white instead of the green and yellow most people know Iron Fist wears. Well, the reason why this Iron Fist skin looks like this is because Iron Fist actually gets the Eye of Agamotto in this comic story, and gets a whole new suit to show how much more powerful he is. And sometimes when he gets this Eye of Agamotto and gets this new skin, the Iron Fist color aura changes as well, with it sometimes being purple and sometimes it just doesn't have that color change and just stays yellow how it normally is. However, the Eye of Agamotto doesn't actually show up on the suit like how it does in this game. The comic one is more of just a color swap, then adding all this extra stuff Marvel Rivals added, the eyes on the shoulders and these symbols on his mask. And in my opinion, I much prefer the white Iron Fist suit than his usual main green and yellow suit, because in most stories when Iron Fist has this white and gold suit, he's way way more experience and is already in the late years of being a superhero and is doing some insane stuff and having some of his most iconic moments in this white and gold suit. And finally, the last skin in the Marvel Rivals Battle Pass was the Hellfire Cloak and Dagger skin, which is pretty much original skin to Marvel Rivals since Cloak and Dagger have never been in the Hellfire Gala story, which makes sense why they would never be in the Hellfire Gala, or at least never be invited, is because these characters have almost no reason to be there since this event is usually for mutants or Avengers or highly important political figures. For example, someone like Doctor Doom, who's the king of Liberia. So it would make sense that, Cloak and Dagger would never even be invited to the Hellfire Gala because they do not fit under any of these categories. And finally, the last two skins that are coming out this week for Marvel Rivals, we have both the Penny skin and the Multiverse of Madness Strange skin, which if Strange didn't get so many nerfs, I would have totally copped the skin, but Strange is currently in the gutter when it comes to gameplay. Now, the Penny skin is also completely new, with its lore coming out with a new Marvel Rivals comic, which is obviously set back in the feudal Japan era, along with the Luna and Spider-Man skin, so this skin is pretty new, and I assume since they're releasing some of the background skins in this comic, the Punisher skin is coming out as well. And there's so many skins in that comic that are coming to Marvel Rivals that I would have my eye on that comic to see all the other skins that might potentially come to the game. So keep an eye on that comic if you're very interested to see what's coming next as Marvel Rivals skins. And the final one, we have the Multiverse of Madness Strange skin, which came out in the Multiverse of Madness movie, where Strange takes over the body of a dead Doctor Strange and uses evil souls as his cloak instead of having his usual cloak of levitation like how he does in most stories and in the MCU, and uses his body to fight the final fight against Scarlet Witch in this movie. But even though most people know this Strange skin as the Multiverse of Madness skin and is listed as the Multiverse of Madness skin, it also could be linked to the comic version of the Zombie Strange, where Doctor Strange becomes a zombie in the Marvel Zombie storyline, where Marvel heroes get affected by the zombie virus and Doctor Strange is one of the victims, and looks pretty similar to the Multiverse of Madness Strange except for the cloak. But that is all the Marvel lore for every new skin in Marvel Rivals Season 2. Let me know down in the comments which one is your favorite that has been released so far. For me, it's a new Iron Fist skin, which is my favorite because Iron Fist is so fun to play in this game. But the lore for Joe Fixit is obviously more interesting when it comes to skin lore. There are so many new skins in Marvel Rivals, it's hard to have a favorite overall. So let me know down in the comments what is your favorite Marvel Rivals skin down in the comments below, and let me know which Marvel Rivals skin surprised you the most when it comes to the lore. And don't forget to like and subscribe because it's very much appreciated. Hope to see you guys next time. Later, hater. Peace.
If that's not the way to go.